So part 3, land use, right here. You're going to pick for alternative 1 and 2. You're always going to pick the most intensive land use that the soil can support. Okay? So alternative 1, basically, you're going to go to your FFA Soils and Land Use Contest manual, educational manual. Your teacher should have one. If your teacher does not have one, let me know and I can get it to you. But inside that manual, there is a page here, page 9. It lists the most intensive agricultural land uses and their classes, the soil class associated with it. So let's say, back in this example, for this pit that we just scored a minute ago, we ended up with a class 4W for the soil there. So if you look in your manual here, that red manual, there's actually a part here that gives you the exact answers that you need for this class 4 soil, the alternatives that you need, and the conservation practices associated with them to use the soil but not destroy it as you use it. That's kind of the definition of conservation, wise use. Okay, so going back over, looking at this and going back over to part 3 here, all right, it asks for with the land use alternative 1 and 2. Okay, because we figured out in the previous section that we had a class 4W soil, we can know, if we know this page right here, if we're familiar with it, we know alternative 1 is this in bold right here, 50% row crop and 50% grass and legume rotation. So that's our answer, alternative 1. Okay, I'm going to write it in here, 50% row crop, 50% grass and legume rotation. Okay, so that's the answer for alternative 1. Alternative 2, okay, for class 4 soil is hayland. So we go back over, alternative 2 is hayland, and that's all you'd write for that part. The next part, conservation practices. This is where people get confused as far as the numbers of factors and the alternatives, okay? But if we're familiar with this sheet on the manual, once again, it becomes a little easier to understand. Number of factors for class 4. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 factors needed for alternative 1 in class 4. So we're going to give you this for your test. You don't even have to memorize the number or quantity of factors. All right, we're going to give you the number that you're going to need, and then you're going to have to pick them out. Okay, which ones? All right, so there's 8 practices for this class 4 soil right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those are the exact practices right there. If you go back to your answer sheet, they're listed out, or they're written out. All right, for the hayland, alternative 2, we have 1, 2, 4 factors. Okay, so we go back over here and we write a 4 in there. And again, we're going to give you those. We're going to give you the quantity of factors that you need. You're going to have to pick them. Okay, so after you get the number of factors, the quantity that you need for each of these, you just write the numbers in for all the practices that are listed over here for class 4. So there's the quantity and the specific practices that you need for each alternative. And that's what your answer sheet is going to look like when it's done. So there's the quantity of factors for each alternative, 8 and 4, and those are the exact practices that you need. Okay, numbers 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 correspond to these numbers. Okay, so if you become really familiar with this sheet, and as long as you can figure out what capability class and subclass your soil is based on all of the physical characteristics from the first part, this is going to be a really easy part of the test because it's basically, you know, if you can memorize it and you can know what these practices are based on the sheet, you're going to do really well. Okay? Our part 4, urban land use. Okay? This goes back to the limitations for development. All right? If you're building a home site with a basement, okay, which of these factors are going to be a limitation, okay, to doing this, to putting in a basement? That's what you're doing, circling the limitations, the limiting factors. So, back to this, home site with a basement. The number of factors, we're going to give you the actual number of these that you're going to have to circle that are limitations for each pit. So, you're just going to have to circle, like if we give you, you know, there's 3 limitations in this list for building a home site with a basement. You're going to have to circle 3 of these, just 3. You'd be surprised at the number of students that we'd give them the number of factors that they have to circle, and they circle the wrong number of factors. We say, oh, there's 3 factors right here in building this home site with a basement. They circle 6. No, you don't have to circle 6 because there isn't 6. There's 3 if we give you 3. So make sure if we're giving you the answer, basically, you just have to figure out the specifics. All right. In this case, you know, going back to the manual tells you the details on, you know, what does the slope have to be a limitation for a home site? What does the drainage have to be? What is the subsurface texture have to be to put in a home site with a basement? What, you know, if you had, you know, certain modeling, if you had a modeling or a stoniness or a slope, how would that be a limitation, or would it not be a limitation? You know, it lists all that specifically in the manual, in the learning manual that your teacher has on what to look for those features and why they're limitations or not. Okay, so I hope this all helped you. I'm actually going to be providing you with real soil from the pits, not from this pit. I dug 2 different pits that are different than this one. I'm going to be providing you with real soil that you're going to feel and use for the texture part of the test. That I'm going to dig specifically from the surface and the subsurface. You're also going to use soil profile poster photos to measure or to interpret the modeling in those photos from your posters. It'll be pretty accurate to the real life versions because the capabilities are still going to be the same. All right, any questions on this or, you know, navigating a land use contest, let me know.